This is how to win with astrology. And when I say like win, I don't mean like you're trying to win against someone else. I mean win. Like win at fucking life, right? Okay, so I like real quick, I want to say one thing. I am not a professional at all when it comes to astrology. This is something I purely just do as a hobby because I enjoy it and because I learn a lot from it. So just take what I say lightly. If it resonates, it resonates. If it doesn't, that's cool. This is just how I look at my chart because I feel like I get the most advantage out of that. Like I will say one thing, I'm kind of tired of like looking at my chart or having other people interpret my chart and be like, "Oh, you're disadvantaged because this." I just want to bring something up. Like I feel like there's not really much of a point into studying astrology if all it does is make you feel disadvantaged. I just feel like there's no point in that. I feel like it doesn't serve a purpose. It's to just look at your chart and decide, oh, well, I'm completely disadvantaged because my chart said so. So I'm just going to live my life believing that I suck. Like, what's the point of that, you know? So, like I said, I like to combine the law of assumption and astrology. So basically, those who don't understand what the law of assumption is, so the law of assumption is this idea that whatever you assume to be true is true, right? Because essentially, how your subconscious brain works is if you have an assumption, let's say, if you assume that people suck, okay, and you repeat that thought a lot, like people suck, people suck, people suck, your subconscious brain has no choice but to obey the command that you're saying, right? And it's not like your conscious mind, like it's going to rationalize that thought and be like, well, that doesn't make sense because not everyone sucks. Your subconscious brain doesn't do that. It's emotional, it's not logical. So it's just going to take exactly what you say literally, okay? And what it does is like, and after you repeat that thought enough, your subconscious brain is going to be like, okay, people suck. And so it's going to filter your perception to only see people that suck. And even if you do encounter that people that don't suck, it's gonna be fucking out of sight, out of mind, and you're not even going to see those people because you've repeated this thought so much to now you constantly think people suck. And that is the repeating cycle. That is the law of assumption. And this goes for every thought that you assume to be true. So if you have like again, like if you have some kind of like thought that you repeat to yourself, oh, I'm disadvantaged, your subconscious brain is going to be like, okay, you're disadvantaged. And so it's going to start filtering your perception to only see ways that you feel like you're not being treated fairly and blah, 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 blah. So with that said, I feel like there's just no point in seeing your chart that way, right? So with that said, I know you might be thinking, okay, so if the law of assumption is true, all I have to do is assume things that I actually want in my life. And therefore, the chart doesn't matter because whatever the chart says, I can just contradict that by assuming otherwise, right? Yes and no. So here's the thing. When we're not conscious of the thoughts that we're telling ourselves, when we're not consciously trying to manifest a reality that we want, when we're not aware of the assumptions that we place on ourselves and other people, we already have default conditions that are placed on us that we may or may not be aware of. That is what the chart shows. Your chart is your self-concept, okay? And for those who don't know what self-concept is, in the law of assumption, law of attraction, manifesting community, your self-concept is the way that you perceive yourself and the way that you perceive pretty much everything around you. Your natal chart is your self-concept. It is the way that you perceive yourself. Even the parts of the natal chart that show like your relationships and other people and karmic shit, because essentially all of those things are an extension of you, and those things only exist because of assumptions that you repeat in your head. The only reason that any of those things exist in the first place is because it's coming from your own self-concept, and it's coming from the way that you perceive yourself. Other people appear in your reality based off the assumptions that you have about yourself. So people are basically showing you your own thoughts. In the law of assumption community, there's also this thing that's called everyone is you pushed out, and basically what that is this idea that everyone is an extension of you in a way, meaning that people exist in your reality based off the things that you have implanted into your subconscious, right? So again, like your natal chart is essentially as a whole your self-concept. So basically, once we become aware about the stuff that we assume about our self-concept, then after we are aware of those thoughts, then we can decide, okay, what do I want? And then you can start assuming things to bring that happiness into your reality. So that is essentially the way that I look at my natal chart and try to interpret it. I've had to remove this idea of looking at the natal chart and trying to find ways that I'm disadvantaged, like, oh, I have this debilitated placement, so that means that I suck at this thing in my life, and so I'm going to die that way. No! No! Why? What's the point of that? That's silly. Okay, and that actually brings up another thing. When it comes to, like, areas in your chart that other people will be like, oh, okay, so this means you're disadvantaged. So that would be like debilitated placements and harsh aspects, for example. Like I said, all of it is just self-concept, okay? And if the law of assumption is true, that means that those things can be transcended at some point in your life and it doesn't have to be permanent. I'm going to make this very clear. You can get to a point in your life where those debilitated placements and those harsh aspects actually work to your advantage. This is the one thing that I tried to stress a lot. Like, just because you have a debilitated placement in your chart or a square or an opposition does not mean you're fucked for the rest of your life. It's just a matter of figuring out that energy and how that energy is manifesting in your life, and how can you change that? How can you change that energy so it can work to your advantage, right? So we're trying to look at our chart in a way that's growth oriented. We're not going to look at our chart and be like, oh, I suck. No, why? Like, what's the point of that? Why? You know? So, okay, just to wrap this up, you want to look at your chart as yourself, okay? Your entire chart, not just the part, like, again, not just the parts that are about you, so like your first house, but everything about your chart is your self-concept. Okay, so like even your 7th house, which is about relationships, which is about others. You have your 1st house, which is self. You have the 7th house, which is others. But others are a part of your self-concept because those other people exist in your reality based off the assumptions that you have programmed into your subconscious. Okay. So I think that's pretty much all I have left to say. I don't think this is going to be a super long video. But I kind of wanted to make this into a series, you know, and I want to go more in depth with like individual placements and how you can see your self-concept through those and manifest through those placements. So with that said, please like and subscribe. Please go follow A Wellness Experience on Facebook. And check out my ebook. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you.